and file of the Great Kukrudu Party, members of the media, the clergy, I greet you all, Assalamu alaikum. It was a few months ago that the president appointed a few of us to work on the party's manifesto. Included in this team on the manifesto committee are Hajia Alima Mahama, Honorable Elizabeth Ohene, Ken Oforiata, Dr. Usu Afriye Akoto, Alain Chiremanting, Matthew Opoku Prempe, Kwekua Jimamenu, Dr. Antonio Akotose, Boabing Asamoah, and Mr. Yofi Grant. We worked very, very hard over the last few months under the eagle eye of no other person than the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa, Akufo Addo. And this is the document that I am talking about on behalf of the Manifesto Committee and on my own behalf. You have seen from the presentations that have taken place that there is so much in this manifesto. The theme, leadership of service, protecting our progress and transforming Ghana for all. The manifesto is organized in 3 segments. You have one section, the beginning, which is accounting for our leadership. We were given a mandate, and how have we performed as far as that mandate is concerned? That is the first part of the manifesto. Then the second part deals with the consolidation of our progress. Having made so much progress, we want to consolidate that progress, and then we are able to move forward. And the third part is the acceleration of growth, the plan for acceleration of growth. So these are the 3 parts of the manifesto that the various presenters were putting together so beautifully. Of course, we are all reminded from the very beginning the mess that this government inherited from the mismanagement of the economy under the previous government, with Dumso, collapsing NHIS, and so on. It was a mess, including the collapsing banking sector and financial sector. So we promised to fix this, and we proceeded to fix the broken economy, invest in critical and national infrastructure, and make the government machinery work. I'll go to briefly talk about the accounting section of the manifesto. In this section, we list all the achievements that we have actually chalked in our 3.5 years in every sector, 17 sectors in all, and we have listed all the achievements. There are 289 separate promise categories, and we have listed over 300 achievements that we have in 3.5 years. Over 300 achievements. And so when you read the manifesto, you will see that we have fulfilled at least 80% of our promises. That is massive for any government in its first term. 80% of our promises. And when you look at all these achievements, you realize that sector by sector, we have really performed better, much, much better than the previous NDC government. So that is the issue of accounting for our progress. Then we go into consolidating our gains or consolidating our achievements. And here we want to make sure that post-COVID, post-COVID, we are able to consolidate all the achievements that we chalked and then be able to move the country forward. So this is consolidating our achievements in agriculture, in industrialization, the infrastructure, and so on. So we have so much to consolidate, and all these achievements that we talked about, free SHS and so on, we are not going to let them go. We are going to continue and deepen them and implement them and consolidate them for the benefit of all Ghanaians. The final section of the manifesto deals with our accelerated growth agenda. Of course, as the economy is very key, and if you want to accelerate growth, you have to tackle some of the key bottlenecks going forward. And our number one priority is to stimulate growth, development, and investment in the real sectors of the economy. The real sectors that make the difference, particularly in agriculture, industrialization, digitization, ensuring macroeconomic stability, and engendering the economic transformation of our country. So if you look at the industrialization segment of what we are trying to do going forward, we want to support the made in Ghana products, including supporting the use of local raw materials. The COVID experience has brought the Ghana Beyond Aid into immediate action, where we are going to be more self-reliant as a country and as an economy. So we are going to focus on more made in Ghana. We'll renew our emphasis on component assembly, not just in automobiles, but also home appliances and light manufacturing in general. We will deepen and expand the 1G, 1F, and we will focus on implementing the integrated bauxite and aluminium industry, as well as the iron and steel industry. The preparatory work for these two industries is now complete. The legal framework is set, and in our next term, inshallah, you will see Ghana realize the vision, the long-held vision of building an integrated bauxite and aluminium industry, as well as an integrated iron ore and steel industry, which will be based in the northern part of Ghana. As we add value to our raw materials and our minerals, we will also be passing into law a mineral revenue management law, similar to the petroleum revenue management law, which will be a first in this country. In the area of agriculture, we will accelerate the activities under the Planting for Export and Rural Development. We'll accelerate the implementation of the greenhouse village concept and our efforts in expanding our agricultural mechanization centers, as well as promote import substitution with a focus on rice, sugar, and poultry. Rice, sugar, and poultry are areas where we spend a lot of foreign exchange. But our vision is to make Ghana self-sufficient in the production of these three key commodities that we have chosen to focus on in the area of import substitution. When you come to education, it's very, very important that we consolidate the free SHS and the free TVET programs and deepen them. But beyond free SHS, we are concerned also about tertiary education. It is very important that we note that the link between tertiary education and economic development is very, very strong. Countries which have high tertiary enrollment rates have much higher levels of economic development. If you look at South Korea, the gross tertiary enrollment ratio in South Korea is 94%. If you look at Ghana, our gross tertiary enrollment ratio is less than 17%. So if we are to catch up and build the human capital that will help us transform the economy, then we have to get more enrollment into the tertiary sectors. Now, one of the problems for students in getting enrollment, in getting access to tertiary education is affordability, whether it's enrollment in the public or the private universities. The ability to get the money, just like it used to be under the secondary education, many students were not able to access it. There is also a bottleneck that we are trying to address, because when the senior high school students graduate, many of them will look to go for tertiary education, and we have to facilitate their ability to access tertiary education. So we have a major promise, a policy initiative, which will say that all tertiary students, except teacher and nursing trainees who will be on allowances, but all tertiary students will now be able to get the option to obtain a student loan without the requirement of a guarantor. The problem for many tertiary students is the current scheme asks for guarantors. And you know, a lot of people are not willing to put their pensions online. So many students are not able to access. So you don't need a guarantor. All you need is your national ID card. That's all. And then you will be able to access your loan. And once you complete the tertiary education, repayment will be deferred. After your national service, you will get 1 year grace after the national service before you start repaying. So it's a major tertiary initiative to enable us improve access to tertiary education as well. We are also going to implement the $219 million Ghana Accountability for Learning Outcomes project. This is known as the Gallup project, and it is a project for which the funding has already been secured. And what is this project about? We have identified 10,000 low-performing schools in Ghana. Their performance is quite low. And we have got this program where we are going to target these 10,000 schools and improve their performance by giving them additional funding in addition to their capitation grants, and also support the teachers additionally so that they can raise the levels of performance of these 10,000 schools so that they will not be left behind. This is the Gallup program that we are going to be implementing. In addition, we want to make sure that we focus on education in the Zongo communities. So we are building in each of the 16 regions. We are building model senior high schools in Zongo communities in the 16 regions. So we have 16 model senior high schools in the 16 regions of Ghana in the Zongo communities. Of course, one of the areas that has not received enough attention is in the area of special needs education. And we are going to focus on special needs. A lot of our children who are suffering from autism or cerebral palsy and other special needs need support. And government needs to support many organizations who are in the private sector trying to also help. And we're going to increase the resources and infrastructure for special needs education across the country. We will also expand infrastructure to increase access to professional legal education. This is one area that the limited infrastructure in the law school really limits intake. And so there's a lot of frustration with many prospective lawyers not able to get in. So we are going to help expand the infrastructure needs so that we can get more people who are able to study. We will also complete the provision of free Wi-Fi at all senior secondary schools and public tertiary institutions. The process has started. A contract has already been awarded, and ECG is also leveraging its fiber network across the country. And even before the end of this year, we will be starting from the ECG perspective on the tertiary institutions. But inshallah, by next year, we expect most of the work, if not all, our senior high schools and tertiary to have free Wi-Fi for their studies. Then we look at health, which my good friend Okoboy talked about. We have a major program in the health sector. We have Agenda 111, which used to be Agenda 88. We're going to build district hospitals wherever they are none, 102 in all, 2 additional psychiatric hospitals, and 7 regional hospitals. 6 in each of the new regions. We are building the regional hospitals in the 6 new regions, and 1 in Western region, in addition to the rehabilitation of Efiankwanta Hospital. So that is a major infrastructure area that we are going, and it's the biggest healthcare infrastructure that we are going to be putting in place for many, many years. We will focus, ladies and gentlemen, on health promotion and prevention as part of primary health care through the National Health Insurance Scheme to achieve universal health care. It is important for us to note that 95% of the disease burden is already covered under NHIS primary, secondary, or tertiary diseases. It's already covered. And children, the elderly, and vulnerable groups don't have to pay the NHIS premiums anyway. So if you say you are going to offer free primary health care, it's almost meaningless. Because if you have free primary health care and you don't have an NHIS card and you go for a checkup and they say go for secondary treatment, what are you going to do? So our focus is going to be on the promotion and prevention of, primary health and promotion and prevention as part of primary health care. We are also going to work with the Ghana Medical and Dental Council to streamline the admission processes for foreign-trained doctors. The discussions with a lot of foreign-trained doctors speaks to a lot of frustration that they have in joining the normal medical corps, especially some of our brothers and sisters who have trained in Cuba when they come in. We are going to discuss with the Ghana Medical Council to streamline those processes to enhance access. We will also help by expanding access to medical schools in Ghana by building additional facilities and augment its human resource base. Ladies and gentlemen, we will eliminate import duties on sanitary pads to improve health conditions, particularly for girls. It's very important, but what we want to really do is to make sure we produce the sanitary pads in Ghana. Until that happens in their numbers, we are going to eliminate the import duties to bring down the cost. And the focus in this era of digitization, we are going to also focus on telemedicine. Now that will reduce the cost as doctors can diagnose and prescribe at a distance and don't have to be particularly at a location. Then I move on to housing. The housing sector is one of the sectors that we are, God willing, going to focus a lot on in the next term. There are 3 components of our housing policy. It is clear that there are a lot of youth who, when they finish school, just trying to rent accommodation is a big problem. Why is it? The large demands for rent allowance. Sometimes up to 2 years demand. But someone who is finished school and just starting a job doesn't have those savings to pay all these huge demands for rent allowance. The landlords, on the other hand, have gotten used to asking, even though the law says 6 months, they've gotten used to asking for 2 years and insist on it because they are saying that they don't know if the tenant will run away or not, so they want to collect it upfront. So there is a market failure. There's a market failure between what the tenants want and what the landlords want. And this is why government has decided to come in and bridge this market failure by setting up a national rental assistance scheme. And under this scheme, if you have a job and we can deduct regularly from your income, under this scheme, the National Rent Assistance Scheme will give you a loan to pay your rent allowance. But we are paying this not to you, but to the landlord. And then we will deduct monthly as you would normally pay. So we are bridging this. You need to have a formal employment, which will allow us or guarantee this. And we are going to be putting in place 100 million Ghana cedis for the National Rental Assistance Scheme and work with the private sector to crowd in more so that we can get this done and relieve a lot of people who are renting of the burden. We are also going to digitize the National Rent Control Board, and a new law which has been coming to cabinet will also pass a new Rent Control Act to become modern with our times. So we are doing the rental housing. Then we are going to focus next on low-income housing through the land banks that we have already gotten together. We are going to build housing estates because the focus, a lot of people in the low-income category cannot really buy many of the affordable homes that are being built. But if you have low-income housing, they can rent or they can rent to own. And that will provide a lot of low-income people access to housing with a lot of infrastructure around it. And the low-income housing, we're going to be working with the Building Roads and Research Institute, BRRI. We've looked at some of their designs, and they are very cost-effective once we use local materials, and we can put up many estates to deal with this over time. Of course, the affordable housing, so to speak, for the middle incomes through the mortgage market will continue. But a third aspect of the land housing area is a reform or the complete digitization of the land administration in this country. We have started the process of putting together land digitization, and we will complete it by the grace of God in our next term. We want to make sure that when anybody is trying to buy a land, you can go to the computer and know who owns this land. Very, very simple, so that the litigation around land goes. And this is going to be a major focus for us in our next term, God willing. Of course, we are going to do this physical infrastructure. All of you have seen our delivery tracker website that we have put in place to show the massive amount of infrastructure that has been done. Of course, we have challenged the NDC to put together a similar website so that we can see what they have done, fili rather than Green Book style. They should go district by district, put all their infrastructure together, and we will see. So we are going to continue building on infrastructure. Year of roads, water for all, toilets for all, and all of that. We will continue doing that. We will continue the construction. We'll have construction in Sunyani and Keta of water supply projects, of course, in addition to those going on in Tamale, Yendi, Damango, and so on. We'll accelerate our investments in roads, railways, and ports. And for the people of Cape Coast, I have good news for you. We are building a new harbor in Cape Coast and a new airport in Cape Coast. It is very critical that we do that. An airport makes a lot of sense in Cape Coast. It's a real tourist hub, and between Greater Accra, Kumasi, and Cape Coast, you have a triangle that really is a lot of hub of economic activity. You can build railway lines between them, and it's a major growth pole if we put an airport here to drive infrastructure growth. Of course, we are going to continue to construct the Eastern Line. We are going to construct the Eastern Line and the Ghana-Burkina Line, which is also very, very much. The Buankrap Inland Port, the Bupe Port, and the Atuabo Port are the key ports that we are also going to be looking at going forward. Ladies and gentlemen, in the area of social protection, we are going to make sure that all those in various databases receiving social protection support, we bring the databases together, and everybody will be uniquely identified by their national ID card, and it will allow us better to be able to target and deliver social services rather than having a situation where you have no idea the full picture, who is accessing what